Hey everyone, it's Anwar at Cobblers Plus, and thank you for joining us. In today's video, we're going to be working on these beautiful Berlutis that really need some love and attention. So come join us and check out what we're going to be doing on them. So thank you again for joining us, and like I mentioned, we are going to be working on these Berlutis that are a phenomenal shoe, but they really need some love and attention. I mean, these things are really beaten up, so we're going to go ahead and do some work on them. We're going to be re-soling these with a regular JR leather sole, not the combination. The gentleman opted out for the combination version, and some JR dovetail heels, and also taking care of the inside liner here. And as you can tell, obviously they need a little bit of love and attention on the uppers. So we'll go ahead and get started by taking these things apart. So Berlutis are one of those brands that are, I guess you can say, not too common, I guess, at least not for us here in Denver, just because it's definitely up there in price as far as quality build and everything, and price in general too. So not too many people wear them, but there are a handful that still love and appreciate them. They're a phenomenally made shoe. However, there are some things that are a little questionable sometimes about them. So, you know, like I just did a pair for the same gentleman here. He had a couple of pairs of Berlutis that he's brought in. That other pair that I was working on, I was replacing the heel base on it, and it was a ankle high boot, and the base is a little bit taller. And surprisingly, that heel base that they used, or heel block, some of you may know it as, was a fiberboard one. I was a little frustrated about that, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, I should be frustrated about something like that. If they're a pair of shoes at that price, I got a fiberboard base, not that great. But I've seen that on other shoes that are in that $1,000+ range as well. So, you know, it happens. Their combination heel, kind of interesting there. So a lot of combination heels, let me grab a couple actually, so I could show you as an example. All right, so I grabbed the heels, but I want to show you. So their combination heels consisted of 3 pieces. You got a leather piece that sits right up against this rubber right here, and then it's got that little lip that sticks out, which is kind of interesting, and then this leather piece lays over top like that right there. So it's actually fairly nice build. Typically a lot of companies, they do combination heels like these ones. I thought I'd grab the beige ones just to kind of show, because it shows a little bit better. But most commonly it's like this. It's just a 2-piece, and leather and the rubber are just smushed together basically and adhered like that. Or they're like this version of 3-piece, where there's one solid piece of material here, and then doing this same method here. And so basically they start out with this method where the 2 pieces are just smushed together and adhered, and then they put a full piece on the bottom. That's typically what you find on a lot of shoes out there that have combination heels. But things like, say, the JR heels, for example, this entire rubber piece is all one single piece, and then they lay the rubber over top. They do the same thing with the dovetail style heel, where it's all a single rubber piece, and then they lay over top the leather. The Vibram ones, however, are a little bit of a different, interesting story. They're very similar to this version of the 3-piece here, just very similar to it. But from the look of it, it doesn't look like they actually just use an adhesive. It seems closer to as if they molded that rubber into it with some kind of like heat press. You got like this little excess amounts of rubber kind of squeezed out because they pressed it down with the pressurized press and everything, and some of that just kind of squeezed out. So that's kind of interesting about those. But back to the point, that's kind of a nice build right here, considering a lot of the combination heels that I've seen over the years. That is a huge huge plus in my book on that. But this heel block definitely looks like it's more on the leather side here. So I got one single nail sticking out right here, and I don't want to end up poking myself, so I'm going to try to see if I can clip it. It's about as far as I can clip it there. And then get in with my heel pry. Alright, so just go ahead and start prying up this heel base then. How tough this one's going to be to pull off. Sometimes these heel bases pop off easily, sometimes they are a pain. And surprisingly, well, maybe not so surprising for some of you, but for cobblers, the hardest ones to take off and remove are leather ones, because they hold on so well that trying to get these things to come up takes a little effort. A lot of times what we use is a little bit of solvent to kind of deactivate the adhesives, but with a shoe like this, one's got such a light color finish on it, I don't like using solvents all that much, just because it can get on the upper and either damage the color or leave water marking or some staining, and it's not something I want to do. Some cobblers, however, I've noticed that when in that case they get it all over the whole entire shoe, which is not a bad idea, but at the same time, kind of a bad idea. So, kind of one of those things. But anyways, we got the heel block off. That one wasn't as bad as I thought. It does have a leather stacked heel base on this one, so that's good. Grab my marker. Always got to make sure. Oops. Always got to make sure to mark them. So that would be left foot, and I thought I had the ticket up here somewhere, but okay. So left foot Berluti, and yeah, that's it. Because I'm not working on the other Berlutis, well, at this stage as well, so I won't be able to mix them up. But at this point, I'll go ahead and clip out the nails that hold everything in, because the nails that hold that heel base on, they go in from the inside underneath this insole and go through the sole and into the heel base, as you can tell right here. And there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of them in here, and they're kind of all over the place, which is weird. Look at that. They're all over the place. I mean, there's no particular pattern to it, but they held everything on very well, so can't really complain, I guess. But at this point, I'm just clipping these off so for my own safety, basically, and I guess you can say for the safety of other things around me, because if I pull this off and leave the nails on and I just accidentally drop it down and it hits that other shoe there, it's gonna be a mess. I don't want that. Just creates extra work for me to have to do then, and I don't have time for extra work like that. Okay, there we go. Alright, now let's see, what are we working with here? Alright, so I kind of forgot where I left off on before that phone rang, but yeah, so these have a blind stitch on them. Basically, they open up the leather and everything and then stitch it and then fold the leather back over to cover it up. So you don't see any kind of stitching here. However, some of these areas, like at the toe, you can start seeing the different layers there pretty much. But these are Blake stitched, meaning that they are stitched from the inside with an arm from the machine that goes in here and stitched clear through. I'm not a big fan of Blake stitch shoes on a high quality pair. I know a lot of people aren't either, but it's not a bad build at the same time, because with a Goodyear welted shoe, for example, you don't really get that nice slim profile. There's only a few companies that get a nice slim profile look on a Goodyear welted shoe, but it's still not that slim compared to a Blake stitch shoe like this one here. We as cobblers, we call it a McKay stitch just because that's what everyone's been calling it for many years. The machine is a McKay stitcher, and so a lot of people call it a McKay stitch. And so I mean, if you ever go to another cobbler shop and they say, oh yeah, that's a McKay stitch, that's what it means. It means Blake stitched, in other words. It's kind of funny how there's so many names, and there are more names coming out in the industry too. But anyways, I am gonna go ahead and start pulling this apart with the heel pry little by little. Again, I'm trying to avoid using any kind of solvents, and I kind of broke my own rule here with the insole. You can see just a little splat there that I had to start pulling these things out while I was on the phone. Man, were these things stuck in there, and I figured out why. So they didn't just use a contact, well, on the insole, on the insole they did use a contact cement, but they used another technique to reinforce the stitches and kind of lay them down, which I'll talk about a little bit later. A lot of us cobblers also use this method frequently on a Blake stitch sole like this. So now, man, these things do not want to come undone very easily. So I'm gonna mess around and just go through with the heel pry and just kind of go all around the edges. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to take these apart because they're stitched down. My goal with the heel pry at the moment is just to pick up those edges everywhere, because if I start cutting into the stitches, I'm going to remove the welting along with it. And I don't want to remove the welting. I want to try to keep the original one there as much as possible. It's fully intact, just needs a little love and attention here and there. That's about it. That way it's still original. If welt needs to be replaced, we'll replace it. No problem. The only problem is that finding a replacement welt just like this one here is impossible. The welts made nowadays, they're different. There are different versions. It's just that that same exact one is not available, in other words. So I'd have to contact Berluti and say, hey, I need 2 or 3 yards of your welt for this particular style, and there's no way they're going to send me that even if I pay for it. So that's just the way it is. Unfortunately, we can't get original parts all the time. Anyways, let me go ahead and go around and take care of that, and I'll see you back here in just a little bit. So I've gone ahead and gone around the edges, kind of like right here. I'll show you that split as much as I could at the moment, but now I started taking it apart to go ahead and start pulling it back. Now this is one method of being able to take apart a Blake stitch sole. Not a very efficient one, but I was hoping it would be on this one, so gotta sometimes pull it back by hand, and it's a matter of just going through, and where the pliers go, just pulling it up and cutting through the stitches. Not the best idea for this pair. Sometimes it works great and phenomenally on certain shoes and boots, but this pair didn't work out so well, so I'm kind of glad I didn't start messing with that other one yet too much, because it still has everything on it. And I'm going to do a whole different method, but it's already the end of the day here, so let's see. I'm going to have to finish this shoe out and stick a couple of things together that I have up here that are needing to cure overnight, and head home, because I got a whole family waiting for me to walk in that door before they tackle me. It's the dad life, you know. It happens sometimes when you try to spend time with the family and they get too excited when you get home and they full on blown tackle you, basically. And we just had the newborn not long ago, and she's growing fast, but there we go. Now, one thing I will point out, I've got this little piece right here. It's like a felt material. Typically on your Blake stitch soles, you don't actually have a cork inlay. There's only a handful of pairs that have ever really had cork in it, and it was Blake stitched. And so if you're having your soles replaced and you've got a Blake stitch sole, typically it does not have any form of cork in there, and it shouldn't, just because again it's a very low profile type of build, and when you add in that cork it can cause a little bit of problems. I mean, there are some builds that, you know, maybe they had a thick felt piece or something just as a form of cushion, and then yes, obviously we would replace it with some cork, but not a common thing actually with Blake stitch soles. It's just a little more common to see them like this one here, where you've got underneath this tiny little pad here, you've got that footbed that's basically kind of the midsole or the main sole that the entire shoe is built off of and around, and so that's kind of what most Blake stitch shoes are like. So don't get frustrated. You know, if we're resoling them, we'll do everything we can to try to get them done right and upgraded underneath, but it's not always that we can add the cork in. You request it, I will advise against it and say, look, it's going to irritate your foot. If it wasn't supposed to have the cork, it's not supposed to. If there's plenty of room to add cork, obviously I'll take out whatever old stuff they had in there that was not great and replace it with cork. But otherwise, Blake stitch shoes, whole different ball game. Oof. And this is really a pain. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this one out and get things going, and we'll see you back here later when we're done with this one as well and get things going. One other thing I'll point out also, these insoles, it'd be great to save them. I'll have to kind of save them as in like because of the color and everything, and it's just one of those odd colors that matches it perfectly, so I'll have to think it over if I'm going to be able to save these. I still have yet to take out the other one. If the other one's damaged, then we have no choice but to definitely replace them, but otherwise what I'm going to end up doing is spraying them down with some desalter vinegar mixture and get it all cleaned up and see how they turn out from then. If they don't turn out great and we have to replace them, we will. I just got to make sure to save this piece right here that was attached to it, because that's kind of part of the build, in other words, of these. So anyways, we'll see you back here a little bit. All right, everyone, so we're back here again. I've got the other one taken apart, but this one we're going to do a little bit different method. We've taken off that rubber piece, which is kind of interesting since they did the blind stitch just on the leather and then just glued this guy over top. That one goes right in the trash, but at this point we're going to go ahead and just sand around the very edges here to basically sand off the stitching in these areas. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we've got the soles off of these already, and obviously there are stitches that need to be pulled. So this was the first one that I did, where I ended up cutting it, and what I basically did was just reach in with a pair of pliers and pull them out from the outside. Now this other method, however, you could still see the stitches here. I can't exactly pull them too well because it's, well, I can pull one section of it, but there's another section of the stitch that's still inside because there are two threads running through. There's a bottom stitch and the top stitch, and so I have to pull out a different method. That first method where I was cutting through it, I basically cut through the top stitch, in other words, the one that's on the inside, and so all I had to do was pull it from the outside and it's done for. This one, however, is a different story because we sanded through just the bottom stitch, and so the top stitch is fully intact on the inside. So at this point I grab little pliers, well, needle nose pliers like this. This was actually originally for pulling hooks out of fish's mouths and stuff when you go fishing, and we kind of redid them a little bit and repurposed them to be able to do this. So we reach inside, grab the thread, and start pulling. Sometimes it doesn't like cooperating, so we have to be able to mess around and it rips like that. That's why we've got long ones like this. They make other types of pliers that are needle nose that will fit down there, but they're a little too fat basically, So when you get to a pair of shoes like this where they have a little bit more of a narrow toe, can't really get down in there, and your hand gets in the way of being able to see because it's on the inside of the shoe. Hands are big and too fat sometimes, and you can't really see what's going on in there. Alright, so we glued up all the welt all around now, and I hammered it on. Typically I always like to do it that way just to make sure that everything's secured on there, because now at this stage I'm going to go through and clean it all up. I'm going to start with the inside. I've got my desalter, vinegar, and easy cleaner in here. So we're going to spray the inside a bit, help deactivate a lot of those minerals on the inside, and the outside as well. Especially because we need to make sure that these are all thoroughly cleaned up in there all around, and we need to start trying to reshape them because they don't have any kind of shoe trees in there, so there's a lot of creases everywhere. Grab our brush. I want to thoroughly make sure that none of the spots on the outside are missed, otherwise that's how you end up with watermarks if you only spray just a few spots here and there. Now I did already blow out the inside with some compressed air because obviously there's a little bit of lint buildup and who knows what else. Once I had the insoles removed, got in there with the compressed air and just kind of blew everything out. I'm going to set these ones aside just for a little bit to let them air dry on the inside just a little, and then afterwards they're going in, going up on a shelf next to some ventilation with some shoe trees and sitting overnight and drying thoroughly. But it's definitely stuff we like to take if we have the opportunity, since the soles are off and we really can get in there nicely and get everything taken care of. Helps sanitize it and everything. We'll probably throw it into our UVC ozone box, which is basically a UV light that's kind of a higher level that'll also sanitize the shoes an extra level on a molecular level. But we'll probably do that closer towards the end once we have everything assembled. That vinegar always makes me want to sneeze. No idea why. I think my allergies are starting to kick in and the vinegar sets it off. There we go. And that's it for those ones for now. I also did end up getting the JR soles out, and as you can tell I traced out the original sole and cut it just because we're trying to get that JR logo as center as possible. It's not a necessity, but it's really nice to have it as a kind of touch, in other words, for, you know, aesthetic purposes, because that JR logo is going to wear off anyways, and it's not a must, but we prefer it to be as centered as possible. So got those all taken care of. Now they're about to go on the shoe trees, and we'll see you back in a little bit. Alright everyone, so these are taking me a little bit longer than I hoped for, so I have to try to kind of pick up the pace on it. But at the moment I'm taking apart that liner on the heel on the back here because it was just shredded completely. The other one's already taken apart, and I'm gonna end up going with this leather right here. It's kind of a darker brown purple finish almost. Looked really nice in there. I didn't have quite a green one to match that, otherwise it'd be too bright, in other words, but kind of looking this one over, it almost matches it. It makes it a little more customized, in other words, which might actually be perfect. So definitely make sure you're using your shoe horns and shoe slides, whatever you have, because this gentleman really crushed the back of these heels here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it out and let you see what it looks like when it's about ready on the heel liners there. All right everyone, so I'm back here with these. It's taking a little bit longer than I really hoped for, but I did get lucky because I went to one of my suppliers this morning, had to pick up some stuff, and while I was standing there looking over the leathers, came across this. Awesome. Gonna find out it matches the insides perfectly. Don't know if you guys can see that, but it matches the insides perfectly color wise. So I was like, hey, well, we could have been creative, but at the same time restoring like original seems a little bit nicer. You know, these are over $1,000. kind of gonna leave it up to the gentleman if he wanted it customized, but I thought, well, since we were able to find a color, because this color is no longer available, I asked my supplier, and he's like, yeah, that color's not available. We had a small batch come through real quickly, and that's it. We're never getting it again. So I was like, ooh, I'm gonna grab me a sheet. So, oh shoot, I'm trying to throw it up on the shelf behind me. So now at this point, I've got everything glued in. I'm not gonna quite stitch it yet because I do want to have it cure overnight. Everything on the bottom, on the inside, is laid down where I need it to already before the insole goes into place. So in order to let it cure overnight, I thought I'd kill two birds with one stone, and I got the bottoms of the soles glued up. Now these, they didn't have, so I was thinking about replacing this little pad here, but it's a special type of felt that it doesn't do anything for cushioning, unfortunately, but it is designed for insulation, and these felts usually you want to try to keep as much as possible of it. Now obviously insoles can be replaced and things like that, but these little felt pieces here, you know, due to feel, in other words, and due to the way everything is bonded together, you don't want to mess with it too much. I mean, you can replace it. A number of cobblers actually tear it out anyways and just toss it. It gets in the way. I try to keep them as much as possible. If it gets damaged, if it's ripped out or something, obviously I'll replace it or fill it in with something else, like a piece of leather, depending on what kind of build or shoe it is. But these ones in particular, thankfully this felt is so durable, I was going to end up keeping it. Everything else seems intact. The welds we got re-glued, and the sole is in the oven way up here. Oh, that is warm. Gotta stick the other one in there. There we go. All right. Very quiet. Beautiful. It's hot. Let it cook just a little too long for, sorry, hammering. Let it cook for just a little too long. So, I mean, it's not bad for the leather, it's just hot. That's all it is. So, with a door slam, I thought. Could be one of the neighbors. So now at this point, just finish hammering this up. So now at this point, I can basically stick this on the press out the welt area, make sure it all sticks together very nicely, and then hang everything up to cure and dry overnight. So tomorrow morning I can come back in, stitch this comfortably. Now one of the other reasons why I'm definitely going to let this cure overnight is because during the stitching process the adhesive kind of clogs up the needle and the machine, sorry. So it clogs it all up, so I definitely don't want to end up damaging any of that or getting, you know, stitches getting caught up and it just doesn't turn out pretty or anything like that. And then after the stitching, then I can finally go ahead and cut off all this that's sticking out. I usually try to get it to stick out just a little bit, but these were kind of like these odd corner pieces that I just needed to I wouldn't have been able to use anyways, so just let it stick out a little bit more than it typically would anyways. But yep, it's going on the press, and we'll see you back here. For me, it'll be tomorrow. For you guys, just a few seconds. So we'll see you in Alright everyone, so we've got that heel liner all stitched in there as you'd seen, and the reason why I go so slow, for some of you cobblers wondering out there why I just don't press the pedal and get the motor to kick in, I'm trying to aim for all the original holes here. You miss any of those holes on a shoe like this, you're not doing it right. But at this point, I've got one of these already taken care of here, with all that. Okay, clean that off there a little bit, but they still need the bottoms sanded out so we can put a finish on them. I'm going to show a little bit of this one, what I'm doing. Unfortunately, I am going to have to move the camera out of the way because it's kind of in the way for me here, so I'm not going to be able to record all of it, but I'll get at least some of it for you on video. All right, everyone, so I kind of got a little out of hand, got a little too in the zone of working, so I ended up doing the bottom stain on these, got everything trimmed out, got the stitching taken care of, did some green on there, got the heel blocks reattached, well, at least glued on there. I'm going to let them cure overnight before I really run the nails in. I guess you can't really see it on the inside too much, at least I don't think the camera will show it, but I ended up running the little gripper nails, which are, if I can get them, little brass nails, kind of like that right there. So the brass nails are designed to go through the sole, that's obviously before the heel block goes on, through the sole and in the inside, and then they turn into like a hook like that, so that whole back area stays on a little bit better. And then afterwards, obviously, we're going to run the nails into the heel block back here and get it all re-secured, but I'm going to let it cure overnight before I do that, just because I have noticed sometimes with the heel blocks, since these heel blocks started peeling up all over the place, I did have to take them apart, all these layers, and re-glue them. If I don't let them cure overnight, sticking them under the heel wheel, there's a lot more pressure than just the press does, and they can end up kind of shifting and sliding, get a little wonky, so I'm going to leave it as is for now. I'm not quite done with the bottom stain. I was going to do one more thing, and I'll definitely let everybody check that out when it's time to do so. This was just kind of like the start of the finish on there, so we'll see you when it's time to continue on with these, and I'm just gonna let them cure overnight, so we'll see you in a bit. All right, everyone, so we're back here again. Heel bases are nice and glued up well and cured, so at this point I grabbed the first shoe. I ran some nails in through the original holes by hand instead of using our heel wheel, just because I don't want to really create new holes, and I mean, I could, there's no major harm to it, but since the original holes are intact well enough that I could actually put the nails in by hand, we're just using little gripper nails like that there that have these little rings around them. There are a few names for those nails, depending what industry you're in especially. We tend to call them gripper nails, but where did I just put my hammer? Dang it, I keep putting it away. I don't know why. I gotta try to set up a better system here at some point where I'm not using this drawer constantly for all my tools, but good luck trying to find the time. And it's quite literally putting the nails in to the holes, tap it if it cooperates. Alright, so just enough to get it going right in there. Got that nail head sticking out quite a bit. And now I'll grab, this is for a drill bit extension, and as you can tell, we've been using it for quite some time. There are different tools out there that may be a little more functional or designed for it. Sorry, we have the signs being moved over today, so I'm gonna hear that doorbell a handful of times. But so at this point, we're able to grab this piece. Sorry, I had everything going off all at once, compressor and all that. So, but now we can just hit this all in. Now with certain proper tools, I guess you can say, they're designed for this kind of stuff. What I mean by there's there's a specially designed nailing device that's for hand work, and basically it's a tube where you feed the nail in there, and then you have this ball on the end of it, and you just pick it up and slam it in there. Problem is, you still can't make it into the original holes, so just makes it a lot easier to do it that way. There are hammers as well, like little ping hammers. I had one over here, which I haven't used in like forever. This right here. And you can use that as well, but it always manages to catch somewhere on the back end over here, and I really don't want that to happen. Especially not on these. Those gentlemen really beat up those heels back here, and we want to make sure that they're as in pristine condition when he picks them up as possible. So taking that extra little bit of time and steps definitely make it better. And that one I was able to do without using that extension piece there, just because of where the hole was positioned and everything. So I like those spots there. Sometimes you're just able to hammer everything in without having to use an additional tool. And with the heel wheel, I'd probably be able to do this a lot quicker, you know, a lot more effectively as far as speed goes, just because in the heel wheel it's a cylinder tube with little holes at the top, and you just drop the nails in there, and then you spin the wheel, and then the top foot presses down right here, and then the nails are forced into position, but they're almost never lined up properly, so you end up creating more holes. And obviously, again, it's not a big issue. It just sometimes needs to be done. But if I can get away with not having to do it and take the little extra steps and use the original holes, I'm gonna take that route, even though it takes more time and effort. Makes it feel right, even though nobody sees the nails or anything. At least I feel good inside afterwards that I went above and beyond for this pair of shoes. So I'm gonna finish nailing it out, and I'm gonna set in a new set of insoles. Let me just set this one aside. So the old ones, they're really shabby, worn out. You know, they're in rough shape. They've got tons of gunk at the bottom and everything. So I'm gonna replace them. I've got that same leather that I used for the back of the heel. I'll use that, but I need to be able to replace this little pad here. And I've already got some veg tan leather that I'm gonna use. I'm gonna skive up this end right here so it's a little bit smoother. Put that in there with a little cushion pad at the back of the heel, and then the new insoles all the way in through the entire insole there. It helps cover up the nails there, so that in case somebody does have a very sensitive, softer heel, they might be able to feel the nails. Even though they really sit deep inside there, they don't stick out, the nail heads, so you shouldn't feel it, but you never know. A little bit of extra protection is always a good idea to do. So I'll go ahead and get that all taken care of, and then sand out the edges here a little bit, and then get the new top lift put on there, and we'll continue on. Alright everyone, so I'll do a little bit of an unveiling here after I remove this little stencil piece, and I'm gonna be spray painting my hand a little too. So got some Saphir 10X.
I'm excited. The shoe nerd in me is excited.
Okay, let's hope all went well. Alright. There we go. I'm gonna have to touch up some of these spots now. Splattered on me.
It won't. It's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
you're a perfectionist.
I got a gold finger now. Get it? Gold finger. Alright. Yeah, so I'll just touch up some of these spots here a little bit, but I did a little bit of green there on the Vibram heel. Let me switch hands so I'm not using my gold finger. There.
That looks so good.
Did the Vibram in green right there at the bottom. So we did that Vibram JR heel. Did a little bit of those green streaks to line up with the rest of the sole. And then his initials, WM. I'm not going to say his name, obviously. But, I'll give you the initials at least, WM. If he really wants to, you know, type his name up in the comments down below, Mr. WM, you could definitely do that. Otherwise, I'm going to leave that completely up to you. I'm not going to give away your identity of these shoes. Unless you take pictures on Instagram and post them all over the place, then that's on you, not me, okay? But anyways, I'll go ahead and touch all this up. And now the uppers are going to go straight to Marcus, because this is a gentleman that he's been working with for many years. And Marcus is the only one that ever touches his shoes as far as taking care of the uppers. So we're going to hand that off to him. But for the time being, that's what everything looks like. New insoles, new JR soles, JR Vibram heels, new heel liners in the back there, and then his W initial. So I'm going to clean that up, get the other one taken care of with an M, and then once Marcus is done, then we'll have final photos and finish out the video. So we'll see you in a few. Alright everyone, so Marcus performed some of his magic and voodoo, and I don't know what else he did on it, but they're all taken care of now. Got the uppers taken care of, got the bottoms taken care of. I did put a clear coat sealant a little bit on there, helps protect that lettering there, but pretty cool. And it keeps picking up dust on me, dang it. This shop is so dusty all the time, obviously, because we got sanders. Doesn't matter how much you clean it, you're always gonna have fine dust somewhere. So there we go. Some Berlutis with new heel liners in them, new insoles. Got most of that creasing out of there. The creasing was just terrible. This gentleman's just going to have to really make sure he uses his shoe trees in these things to help with that creasing. And we're pretty sure that he has some that are fitted for this shoe in particular. So he just needs to start being sure that he uses them. And a set of shoe horns maybe. We're going to make sure to give him one of the shoe slides to take with these, because dang, he really does some damage. And this isn't the only pair of Berlutis he brought into us. He brought some other ones for some other jobs and everything, and he just destroys them. I swear, man, he really, if you're watching this, good sir, Mr. WM, alright, WM, I think I got it there. You gotta use those shoe slides, shoe horns, shoe trees. Take care of your shoes. I mean, you know, I know you got a good collection of them Berlutis there, but these are a beautiful, beautiful pair here. I love these ones, and that color is phenomenal. So definitely take good care of them, at least with the basic maintenance with shoe horns and shoe trees. We'll talk to him when he gets here to pick these up. And we're gonna basically hammer away at him with Marcus and say, look, take care of them, man. These things will last you for a very long time as long as you take good care of them. But yeah, they're all ready to go. I'm gonna get one of those shoe slides there, take a few photos, and we're all done. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and share the videos also. You know, I'm trying to grow the channel. It's been taking off a little bit more than I expected, even, really honestly. We're now, at the time of this recording, we're over 3,000 finally subscribers. So definitely share the videos, you know, send them to friends, check it out. I know my videos are long, so some people aren't going to even watch it. There are other cobblers out there that I respect very well that have much shorter videos and everything, but I try to show all the details, well, at least majority of the details about it all. I know some of you enjoy watching them as an ASMR type of thing, just it's relaxing to watch. It might be a little bit noisy at times with hammering or machine running or something else, but other times you're just watching because you enjoy shoes, you enjoy finding out more quality builds and everything. I've just checked out a few videos from another guy who cuts through shoes and shows the inside. Some of you may know him, Rose Anvil. Guy's got almost 200,000 subscribers. Jeez, man, he cuts through shoes. I don't quite cut through shoes. I don't mess with that. I got too much other stuff to do, unfortunately. But I show you the internal structures regardless with that. So hopefully everybody's been enjoying that, and kind of these videos have been helping you understand how different brands are built, how they're put together. You know, it's not cutting through the shoe, but it still shows the internal structures of it, how it's put together, and what we like to do, what we recommend. So, you know, I thank everybody for watching, and I hope hope our channel continues to grow as it has been, and we'll just see where it takes us next. I'll still be trying to post videos and hopefully get my daily videos back on track. Got some technical difficulties here with my computer, but technology, I guess. So sometimes the camera, sometimes the laptop, they don't cooperate. Sometimes the laptop decides to crash. I need a desktop, but I can't cough up that kind of money at the moment. So hopefully in the near future we'll have a new upgraded camera and new computer, and we'll be posting very frequently. So again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.